Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
All right, Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up.
Dodge this.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Holy Moment Podcast. I am your host, Jeffrey Nichols, and I'm here joined by my co-host, Nathaniel Lirio. Say hi, Nathaniel.
Jeffrey, right before you started the episode, you hit your camera, and I'm staring right at your nipples. So hi, everyone, but also, you should fix your camera so I don't have to stare at your nipples the whole episode.
All right.
Yeah, there we go.
But you don't
Look
like
at
it?
It was a beautiful view, but I feel like that's a different type of art form that we're not making tonight.
Yeah, it's distracting. I understand.
Truly. I any night, I would be happy to look at your nipples, but tonight we have to discuss an awesome movie.
Absolutely. And that movie is Paper Moon, directed by Pete Bogdanovich. Came out in 1973, won the Academy Award for Best Adapted Screenplay and Best Supporting Actress. Can you guess who won that award?
Oh, I mean, definitely the girl.
Oh, 100%, yes.
Okay, good.
So the main players in this movie are Ryan O'Neal as Moses Prey, right? The con man, charming, trickster, street smart, but also a bit stupid in his own way. We have his actual daughter, Tatum O'Neal, as Addie Loggins, like the curmudgeonly, clever, stone-cold exterior child with, a heart that is lonely, tender. I think she captures both of those sides of herself like so well. In fact, she is the show stealer, in my opinion. This movie would not have been the same without her. I feel like it's so rare to find a child actor of her caliber that fits the role so well.
I fully agree, especially like a role so peculiar for children. Like it's not often that, especially in this day and age with movies, when we're like making movies about children, I feel like we're trying to be really authentic to what it's like being a child. Like example, when we reviewed Come On, Come On with Joaquin Phoenix and the kid who I don't remember, which I thought was pretty good. I thought the kid actually did a good job, but it felt like it just was like, oh, what is it like to be a child? What is it like to be, it feels over the top emotional. I liked this character that she was going through an emotional thing. She just lost her mother. She is alone. But this character takes on quite a sometimes risque, sometimes scummy type character. And it's just something that you wouldn't think to see in a child, yet it's so believable. And the fact that this 9-year-old, however old she was when she recorded her performance, she captured this character so well was really, really impressive. I liked it a lot.
It's a character with a lot of edge, right? You don't expect that from a child, a literal child, but she's smoking cigarettes. She's using foul language, right? She's talking back to her elders. And I think it creates this really interesting dynamic where, yes, she's with Moses Prey, who's an adult and sort of a father figure to her, but they feel more like peers, like partners in crime, right? And they're arguing with each other as adults would argue with one another. Yeah. And it's highly entertaining.
It never even crossed my mind to think that they might be real father and daughter in real life, especially because the whole movie, she's like, "Are you my dad?" And he's like, "No, just because we got the same jawbone, don't make me your daddy. Your mom was a whore. It could be anyone." And so it didn't even like dawn on me that like, oh, they might actually be father and daughter. And so when the credits rolled and I both saw O'Neal, I was like, that makes a lot of sense to have that chemistry, to be able to, as a 10-year-old, trust your adult counterpart and be able to have that chemistry right off the bat. So I'm not saying it displays to her phenomenal performance, but I do think it would have been a lot harder to find a 10-year-old to have that chemistry with an adult man, specifically in that type of role, that kind of, you are my father, you're not my father, we're having this back and forth banter. I feel like it would have been way harder if they didn't have that real life bond.
For sure. You have those characters, right? But also, Madeline Kahn as Trixie Delight, she was one of the nominees for Best Supporting Actress, I should say.
Really?
And she lost out to Tatum O'Neal, which, in my mind, okay, I have two thoughts on the Best Supporting Actress award that Tatum received. One, absolutely deserved. Her performance was incredible. Especially given her age and lack of experience. This is her first time on film, right? Two, she is 100% a lead actor.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
100%.
it's so odd that she got this award for Best Supporting Actress when she's more of a lead than Moses. She is the prospective character. I don't know if you noticed this, but a lot of the camera shots, most of them, are filmed at around her eye level, and we're looking up at the world.
Yeah, I did notice that. I thought it was an evoking point of view to have. Like constantly this like short girl. I mean, she's a little girl and just this bigger world. And I thought it made everything more daunting and it made everything more mysterious.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of camera movement and shot placement and whatever, Harold Slovaks, I believe that was his name, was the cinematographer, right? And nope, Harold. I don't know where I got Harold. Laszlo.
They're not even close. Harold
even
and
close.
Laszlo.
Laszlo Kovacs. Yeah, he's Hungarian. But he was the cinematographer, the DP for a lot of Pete Bogdanovich's movies. And I think that his cinematography is highly underrated. I didn't really read much about it when looking at reviews, but it's very intentional. I love how he moves with the actors rather than this movie relying on a lot of quick cuts and shot, counter shot. Oftentimes, the interactions between characters, we're seeing both of them reacting in real time with one another.
I thought it was beautiful cinematography. I didn't know anything about going to this movie and haven't done a lot of research, so I just assumed it was kind of renowned for its cinematography. So I'm surprised that not a lot of people talk about it. I thought it was gorgeous. Maybe this is just recency biased, but anytime they're kind of driving in the car and we specifically have that kind of medium wide shot with Addie, is that her name?
Addie, yes.
Yeah, Addie and Moses.
Yeah, Moses, like a nickname. So Mose and Addie.
Yeah, Mose and Addie. Like whenever they're sitting in the car driving, and then it's kind of that like medium wide shot, you see them in the car. It reminded me of Sinners when we had Smoke and Stack and the cousin in the car, and they were driving down the cotton field rows, and kind of very similar shot framing, and it just reminded me of that. And I just thought overall, the film was really beautiful. Something that I like about older films is, obviously, like you said, Jeffrey, they were following characters. It wasn't like it was a static shot all the time. They had the ability to move the camera, but they had the ability to move the camera less than in this day and age. You know, even a small indie production can move the camera 10 times as much as they could in the old days. It was just harder with the technology and the size of cameras. So I really appreciate a lot of the intentionality with some really wide shots that were static, or, you know, maybe a little bit push in, maybe a little bit of a tilt. But for the most part, they're really wide, gorgeous, static shots. I'm a big hoe for static shots and my like wide static shots in my filmography. I just think it takes a lot of patience and it takes a lot of reserve from a director to be able to pull it off correctly. Yeah.
One of the most iconic, perhaps the most iconic image from this movie is that ending shot where they're chasing after the buggy. They hop on in and then they're, you know, driving down these winding roads and the credits are rolling over it. And it just stays on that, right? And we can talk more about the ending later, but it's such a striking image. Have you seen Little Miss Sunshine?
Yes. Yeah, I have.
There must have been some inspo, right? Because, you know, in that movie too, they're pushing the vehicle, having it start and chasing after it.
There was dang it, there was another. Oh, that's right. I don't know if this was a reference that the movie, like I don't know if this was an origin with the movie or they're referencing something, but you see it all the time in movies and televisions. The one I can think of the most recently is Bob's Burgers. I love Bob's Burgers, but there's this episode where there's a dine and dasher. He keeps coming in, he keeps eating, then running away. And then in one scene, Bob is like, "No, I know you're the dine and dasher. You're gonna pay." He's like, "Okay, you got me. I'm gonna pay for this meal and all the other meals and then some." And he does the whole thing where he's like, "Okay, well here's 100. Oh, wait, actually, can you break it and give me 20s? Oh, now silly me this." And they do the back and forth. And then ultimately the dine and dasher ends up not paying anything and Bob is confused. So I'm just curious, do you know if this movie, like, is that something people actually did back in the day? Was this the movie that like founded that kind of like hijinks or do you know anything about that? Because I've seen it done a lot in movies since then.
I watched it with my roommate Maximus, and I'd learned from him, I didn't know this, that people still do that scam to this day. It's an old scam, like an old con. But of course, the way that it's executed in this movie is just... Mose is so charming, right?
Yeah.
So charming and devilish and sleazy, and just a riot to watch, right? Even more of a riot when the two of them are working in tandem. In fact, man, this is one moment. I think the soundtrack to this movie is phenomenal. And not only does it create an atmosphere, a vibe, but there are moments when the song speaks directly to what's happening, right? And to what's in the characters' brains. At the end of the episode, or near the end of the episode with Trixie Delight, right? Mose and Trixie are off gallivanting with one another, and Addie's in a room all alone. She's listening to the song, and it's listing off, imagine Ford without his car, right? Imagine Bonnie without Clyde. Imagine this without that, all these famous duos. And now imagine me without you. You can tell that she feels out of place and abandoned. Perhaps she feels more complete than she has in a while, right? With this man who may or may not be her father.
This movie a big question I had throughout this whole movie was like, what was this child's life before this movie begun? Because we open up this movie at the mother's funeral. No one's there but like the priest and the daughter. She has no next of kin besides an aunt in Missouri. You could argue, well, like, oh, of course she's a little depressed, sad gremlin. Her mom just died. But she very clearly lived a certain type of lifestyle. I'm not saying her mom and her were like con artists like her and Mose were, but you could tell like she didn't live like the most clean and prissy life with her mom. And her mom was a implied prostitute. So it's just interesting to be like, was she more fulfilled with Mose than was she with her mother? We only hear about the mother very briefly, really through Mose. And we don't know, since he's a con artist, we don't know if he's kind of lying. We don't know what type of woman the mother was. The mother's only ever remarked upon by her beauty. Never her character, never really how good of a person she is. So I'm curious if like the daughter actually didn't have a very healthy upbringing with the mother, and Mose was one of her first kind of, I don't want to say healthy relationships, but maybe she felt like there was a world in which maybe the mom was a prostitute and she never provided for her daughter, was never around. And Mose was the first person that actually treated her like a equal and would actually engage with her. I just thought that was really interesting. Like her, like why she was the way she was, like what was her upbringing that led her to this point?
I think, this is just my own guess, is she loved her mother loved her, but her mother was not by any means a responsible parent and would often spend more time with the men she was hanging out with, or making happy, in the words of Mose, than she would like with her daughter. And there was just a lack of intentional time that caused Addie to be very self-reliant. I'm guessing just seeing her mom with these people, it made her a little more worldly wise than a kid would be in more innocent and healthy circumstances.
I like that it's left ambiguous. Like we don't know what the relationship was. Like, we get impressions like when she carries around the little box that has mementos of her mother, and you can tell she wants to be a grown-up woman and she respected her mother in some ways. I liked it was left kind of ambiguous, but a scene that maybe I'm just reading too much into with what was the other prostitute's name that Mose was hanging out with the second half of the movie?
Trixie Delight.
Trixie Delight. Yeah, I liked that. They just give a lot of subtle character development, or not even character development, but just insight into our character of Addie. When Addie and what was the African American girl's name? I'm so sorry.
Man, I'm actually blanking on that as well. I think her name is like Billy or
Billy? No.
I mean, it's hold on.
It's not Billy. Billy's, it's a girl, right?
I do. But
Billy, no.
Billie Jean. Billie Jean is not my lover,
true.
right?
No, that's fair.
In the words of Michael Jackson.
You got me. Okay, well, I guess we're gonna call her Billy while Jeffrey looks up her name. But the point of the story is when Addie and Billy had tricked Trixie Delight and the hotel manager dude into having sex, and she's doing this whole orchestration so that she can get back her time with Mose alone, and it can just be Addie and Mose again. But there's that scene where Trixie Delight and the manager go into the room and start like having sex, and you can see that she's overhearing the noise and she becomes disgusted by it and leaves, arguably to continue the plan to, go get Mose, so he discovers them and leaves. But there was definitely a hint of resentment and anger, as if she has been in that position before, as if she has been on the side of that door listening to her mother with the many men and kind of the trauma that and that like the frustration that she had. It was a weird paradox where you could tell she loved her mom and almost wanted to be a woman like her. She's like 9 years old, but she wanted to be a grown-up woman that wears perfume, isn't attractive. She's not called a boy. She's a lady. But there's also this dichotomy of like, or the juxtaposition of, but I also am frustrated how the way my mother chose to live her life and how it impacted me. So I really like that as a 9-year-old. Of course, you're going to have those. I love you and I look up to you, but also at the same time, how you lived your life hurt me. And I kind of hold a resentment towards you. And again, that's a lot of reading into the situation because none of that's directly said at all. But I like that. I really liked reading into how Addie was feeling throughout the movie based on how she was raised. I just thought that was a really fascinating point for me.
Absolutely. And I think that, again, she presents as very stone cold and curmudgeonly and has that biting wit. But at the end of the day, she's a child, right? And she is a lonely child. And she wants connection. And she's finding connection with Mose. And perhaps it's a deeper connection than she's ever had with anyone in her life, even her mother, right? Because with her mother, she could leave Addie at home and spend time with these other men, but just because of the nature of the circumstances that they're in, Addie and Mose are forced to be like with one another, and they're forced to rely upon one another. And then, of course, there's that ambiguity of, is he my dad, right? And I kind of want him to be my dad. That's motivating these actions, even if she doesn't explicitly think that herself. That's what she's feeling.
Yeah.
And I think it's fair to say that they're motivating her.
Yeah, I love that. I don't even know about subtext, but that underlining push that she doesn't understand as a 9-year-old. Like us as the audience, we just think she's angry. She's just trying to get underneath this guy's skin. But it is probably true that deep down she wants to know who her father is. It was so sad when she's like, yeah, the pharmacy guy touched me on the shoulder one time, and the banker, he smiled at me one time long. And I was like, well, he could be my dad. She's desperately searching for a connection. And that's why I personally am led to believe that her mother loved her the best she could. I don't think it was like a classic, I'm a neglectful mother that hates you, that beats you, and leaves you alone to starve. I do think the mother loved her as she could, best as she could maybe. But yeah. I think it was very clear that Addie never had a super safe, supportive connection with a familiar adult. And so I think it's really cool to see her desperately trying to make those connections, as you said, the best way she knows how. And they're not good. They're honestly, the movie's not overly depressing, but it could, like, if you start to read into Addie's character, how she was raised, who she is, what she ends up going along with, she ends up finding the best family she can. And it's not her aunt and her real blood, not her aunt and uncle, but it's this dude who, honestly, can he take any better care of her than the mother can? He has now no money. He's poor. He's wanted in the state of Kansas or wherever they were. And he's a grifter. He's a con artist. And obviously, he definitely has an affinity. He definitely cares for Addie in some degree. But at the end of the day, it could be argued that it's sad to see that this character doesn't know how to accept love. So she cannot stay. It's just like the end of the movie. At the end of the movie, of course, we want Addie not to stay with the prissy, nice, rich aunt and uncle. We want her to go back with the charming ne'er-do-well Mose. But at the end of the day, it's her own upbringing and trauma that is forcing her to leave these people that will probably love her and take care of her to kind of go chase something else.
Yeah, that's the thing that sticks with me every time I watch this movie, because I've watched it several times over. And every time I watch it, I notice new things. But the thing that always sticks with me is that ending. It's bittersweet, right? There is a sense in which, oh, yes, Addie and Mose, they belong together. We're glad to see them together. But there's also that voice in the back of our heads saying, well, is this what's best for her? And I'm inclined to think that it's not. I think that the most loving thing that Mose did for her in this movie is like to leave her with her aunt. Now, that isn't to say that they can't live a happy and loving life from this point forward, but I don't know, this is going to be a life of ups and downs and tremendous risk.
Oh, I guess we're viewing it from a different perspective. I thought it is a downhill slide for Mose. He was living better if he left Addie behind. Mose was living great before he met Addie. He was selling Bibles. He made just enough to live off of. It was when Addie came into his life and was like, hear me out. What if we scam more people until you get the shit beat out of you and go to jail? No, I'm totally kidding. But it is really funny how it is the idea of like, Mose is a grifter. I don't think he was a good person. But, he was just getting by. He was doing his little scams here and there, enough to get by. And it was so funny that Addie came along, like pushed the buttons, pushed further and further and further. And like, it was very clear, like, Mose was a careful man. He's like, I don't want to end up in jail. I don't want to scam anyone too much, do anything too crazy. I just make enough to live off of and be happy. But it was Addie that kind of kept pushing the buttons and pushing things further. And so I do think it's funny that it's like, maybe Mose would have lived maybe they're both bad for each other. Addie could have gone and lived with her loving aunt and uncle, grown up normal. Mose maybe would have just done a little bit of scamming, but been fine. I feel like if they get together, they're going to end up like in jail or in a ditch dead.
I don't know about that. I think that Addie has a good eye for business. I think that she won him a lot of money that he wouldn't have otherwise earned. And I think that the run-in with the bootlegger, maybe in that moment, Addie had sort of nudged him in that direction. But I think it's just a part of that life, is you're accepting that, like, those risks, and you're taking the fall, right? The fact that Mose begins this movie with like that janky car that he trades in for a newer one, I have to imagine that that's happened over and over.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
If he was really doing super well for himself consistently, then he would have, come on in with a Mustang, right?
No, and I jest. I mean, it is interesting to think, like, are they actually worse for each other than separate? But I don't think actually, I just thought it was fascinating how, like, what was it in her? Like, I guess it's just the idea of a child who doesn't understand consequences. It's like a baby, like, or like a 3-year-old, for example, and the 3-year-old slaps someone and someone else laughs, and they're like, oh, they find it funny, I'm going to slap this person. They don't understand the consequence that you're hurting someone, but other people are laughing. I feel like Addie doesn't understand all the consequences fully, but she sees opportunity, and she sees, when I do this opportunity, it kind of makes Mose happy. But also, she is weirdly just like all about money. Like, I was surprised with how much, like, obviously it's a really cute moment at the end of the movie where she's like, she uses the excuse of, you still owe me $200 to continue going on along. But you can also tell she's money hungry as well.
Yeah. I mean, that's just the world that they're living in, right? Great Depression. People are in crippling poverty all over, and we see that throughout the film. And yes, she's money hungry, but she has more of a heart than Mose. And she pushes Mose in a more compassionate direction when she starts being selective about her targets, right? It's a very astute observation that she made that, oh, this lady is very rich and this lady is very religious. She's going to want to spend more, or she's going to be willing to spend more, versus, oh, this lady has 5 kids and can't afford a deluxe Bible of any kind. And Mose gets on to her about it, right? What are you doing just giving Bibles away? Mm-hmm. Right? And then with her making references to, FDR said that things are looking up for this country. Oh, like maybe we should help those people along the side of the road. There's this optimism in Addie that I think rubs off on Mose a bit.
Mm-hmm. And I do appreciate, because I feel like, I don't know about a lesser filmmaker, it just would have been a different story altogether. But I am happy that it was not the innocent child rubs off on the con man, and at the end of the day, they they flip a new leaf, and they're good people. I'm happy that it's like they're kind of there's a saying, you guys are made together in hell or something, like you're two peas in a pod in hell, which I know maybe is a bit extreme for these two cases. Again, I feel like I'm coming at this pretty hot. I really liked Addie as a character. I really like Moses as a character. I don't think they're scumbags, but I just thought it was that I'm happy they didn't take the approach of like, oh, Addie's a good girl and Moses bad, and then by the end of the movie, yeah, he has a change of heart. I like that there's this weird, like you said, it's the depression, and Addie's going to do what she needs to get done, And by the end of the movie, they're not morally better people. Like, I get what you mean, where Addie kind of made a few good choices. This woman's starving, let's not steal from her. This woman's rich, let's steal from her. Yeah, that happened every once in a while, but at the end of the day, Addie was still all about conning people. She was, every town they got into, like, well, let's drop a 20, let's buy some Bibles, let's do this, come on, let's steal some wallets. She was always ready to make the next buck. And I appreciate by the end of the movie that didn't change. The only thing that really changed is that it was clear that the two wanted to be together. They wanted to kind of have this father-daughter relationship. And that's the only thing that changed, not like their morals.
And the thing is, too, whether or not they're actually biologically related is completely irrelevant. And I think that the title of the movie speaks to that, right? It's in reference to the song, "It's only a paper moon sailing over a cardboard sea, but it wouldn't be a make-believe if you believed in me." And it just goes on to say, like, hey, this is fake, this is phony, but does it matter if there's love there, if we believe in one another and trust one another? And I think that's a theme that runs throughout this movie of just belief and appearances versus reality, which I think adds to the ambiguity of the ending. Yes, they're together. Yes, they love one another. They believe in one another. But if it is just a paper moon, does that matter, right? Is this good for them, right? Because, like, as you said, they don't really improve all that much morally by the end of the movie. If Addie makes Mose, like, marginally better, Mose is still dragging Addie down, and they're both enabling one another a lot.
Yeah, that's a good word. I feel like they enable each other. But I mean,
and it's never a traditional father-daughter relationship, right? Is it fine that they're more peers, right? That their relationship is a bit adversarial at times? Is that okay, right? They're content with it, and we enjoy watching it, but is that healthy?
Probably not.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah.
What were you saying?
I wouldn't lie to you. I can't remember. I'm not sure what I was going to say. I was going to say after all of this, their interactions were probably the highlight of the movie. I thought they were both. It just was so refreshing, this movie. I feel like movies nowadays, and I know, we can point to Marvel, we can point to superhero movies, but honest to God, really most blockbuster movies, regardless of kind of what production company made them, they always feel like plot points to get to the next scene. This needs to be said so this can happen so we can get to the climax. It often feels like we're being drug along. It doesn't feel like we're living in an environment. It doesn't feel like we're living with real characters. When we reviewed Sinners 3 or 4 episodes, that's a praise I gave it. I was like, man, it's one of the first real authentic ideas and screenplays that feels like we're not just being drugged through the dirt. We're not just going from plot point to plot point to plot point. We're existing in the world. These characters are real. They're making organic choices. And that's something I really liked about Paper Moon. I really liked the organicness of Addie and Mose and their character choices. And yeah, they didn't have they didn't have a crazy character growth. Addie is kind of a traumatized child that just wants to connect with someone. And Mose is a grifter. He's just kind of a slime ball. And by the end of the movie, all they have is that they like each other. And that's it. Like, they didn't go on some crazy character journey, but it was still so fun to watch them because they were making choices that made sense to their characters. It didn't feel like they were trying to rush to the finish line to some big goal of saving the earth, of some climactic, emotional, cathartic moment. It was more just like, these are our characters. One is a grifter who's just trying to make money and get by. One is kind of a stunted child who's just looking for a connection. Let's put them in these scenarios and see how they react. And the story does progress. It 100% has a 3 acts and has a storyline. But I just found their character interaction so, again, to quote Vega, human. They were so human. They were some of the most human characters I think I watched in a long time. And I really enjoyed them.
Yeah, this movie really stuck the landing, too. I think, to your point that... we're just watching these characters be very human, and they make choices that make sense for the characters, and it's not in service to tying up bows, right? The ending would have fallen so flat, and it would have been so empty if Addie had said, "Listen, Mose, I want to stay with you. I want to be with you. I love you. I want you to be my dad," right? Instead, like, after Mose rebukes her, she says, "You still owe me my $200. And that statement makes so much sense for her character, but the subtext is still, I love you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. They're giving us the conclusion and the way the characters know how to, not the conclusion that us, the audience, need to hear to understand.
Yeah.
It is real to who they are. It is real that Mose would leave her behind and say, you know what? This was a fun little rodeo, but I'm moving on to the next town. I got to cut my baggage where I got to cut it. And it makes sense that Addie isn't going to accept this new lavish life of a rich aunt and uncle that's going to love her. She wants to go with the one person where she kind of felt at home, regardless of the moral implications or the future of her life. And of course, she's not going to be able to verbally say it. She's only going to be able to say it in the way she knows how. And then and then you're not going to get Mose breaking down crying and be like, I'm so happy. You're going to get it how I like their interaction doesn't even get a conclusion, because literally she's like, Mose, the car's running away. So they have to run off to the next scene, the next exciting story that they have. End of the movie for us, but the beginning of the story for them.
Yeah, I like what you said there about, it's just the beginning of their next story, right? Because that's what this movie felt like. Not so much one, overarching narrative. It's just it's separated into 3 acts, which feel like 3 episodes. 3 stories that are almost self-contained, right? And we're just watching them exist in this world and tackle the unique problems that present themselves in each chapter. Like I would call Act 1, right? Episode 1, like Addie Loggins, because that's where we get introduced to her character and to Mose, right? And the dynamic between them is established of he owes her $200. She can help him with his scams, right? And they get into a rhythm. Episode 2, Trixie Delight. A new character enters the picture. And now they have to deal with that. Mose is smitten, but he's being taken advantage of. Addie feels left out, lonely, abandoned. She solves the problem, right? End of that story, end of that chapter. Episode 2, Deputy Harden, right? They get caught up in a bootlegging operation that goes terribly wrong. The bootlegger is brothers with the local sheriff in town, which, speaking of that sheriff, I thought that performance was phenomenal, right? Incredibly intimidating. And I think that Singh did a great job of establishing suspense when they're in his office and Deputy Harden is forcing Mose to keep his arms up.
Yeah. I especially love in movies where you start to feel bad for the corrupt people. Again, at the end of the day, Mose and Addie, maybe they're stealing from bootleggers, but they're still stealing. They're still thieves. But then you have this corrupt cop. The moment someone who is in a power of was put into authority and is corrupt, I feel like we as humans, there's something innate in humans that we just feel the injustice. Wait, he's a sheriff. He should be protecting the people, and he's corrupt. I just love that we totally overlook that, like, Addie and Mose are they're not good people either. But there's something about the cop's corruption that supersedes, and it humanizes Addie. It humanizes Mose. Also, I have a question for you about those 3 acts, but before that, since this is still on the topic about Mose and Addie, their characters, I also love, like, again, we've already kind of established that they're great characters. We like them. They have a great dynamic. They're not the healthiest for each other. They're, like, pretty toxic. I know that's, like, an overused word, but I feel like it's a good word to describe them. Like, in the second act, Addie is just she's butthurt. She's like, hey, Mose is kind of being my pal. He's my father figure. I want to ride in the front with him. I want to go, drop 20, steal wallets, and have a good time. And who's this bimbo? So basically, she's just kind of butthurt that Mose is finding a new woman. And so she just, like, coerces and, like, lies and gaslights people into thinking that this Trixie Delight is having sex with this other dude, all to get Mose to storm out and be like, I'm done with this. And what got me is, at the end of the scene, so, Mose bursts in on the two having sex, and he's like, I'm out of here. And then you have Mose and Addie in the car driving away. And Mose is just like, I would have treated that woman just like a princess for the rest of her life. I can't believe she did me like that. And Addie's like, yeah, I mean, she's been sleeping with guys this whole time. And he's like, what? Why didn't you tell me? She's like, I didn't want to hurt your feelings. Just put a little old poor me. I would never do anything wrong. And never resolved, never brought up. It's just, she just lied to him to get what she wanted to better her situation.
Can I say what I love about that scene?
Yeah.
Right? I love the comment that he makes when he's like, Addie, just promise me this one thing. Promise me that you won't grow up to be the kind of woman that lies to men.
Yeah, yep. And she's like, of course, never. And it's just like, all you're teaching her is to lie to men. Yeah, it was a great scene. But then my question for you is, most movies are broken up into acts, but like you said, these are pretty strong acts that almost feel episodical. You really could just they could almost be standalone.
Yeah.
Could you rank them 1 to 3, worst to best?
Worst to best. I think that, I really like the first act / episode for establishing these characters and their dynamic. But I also really like that last act. I feel like the last act is a culmination of their relationship. And again, it sticks the landing so well, right? And I guess I've always thought that if you have really great setups but you fail to deliver, then that's a bad movie, right? That's a bad show, right? Game of Thrones, for instance. I've never seen it. I hear that people really enjoyed it, and then that last season just ruined it for everyone, right? Now people don't talk about Game of Thrones, but shit on it. And so if I'm being consistent with my thinking there, I would say that first, I have that last act. Second, that first act. And then I think the middle act was the weakest, in my opinion.
Yeah.
What about you?
I more or less agree with you. But actually, I think the only disagreements I have is ever so slightly, and it's almost the opposite of your line of thinking. I definitely like the opening and the third act by far the best. I actually thought the second act drug. I did not like I really liked the climax of the middle act where, again, Addie and the African-American, I don't want to say slave because she wasn't, but basically it was a really weird dynamic. But the African-American and Addie, bamboozle them and have Mose catch her in the act having sex, and then they flee and run away. I liked how they wrapped it up. So it made it better. But I thought getting into that, Mose finding a hooker, he falls in love with her. She's just taking him for everything he's got. And I just thought it was a slow chug through that middle act. So that would be my last one. There were some great moments in it. I didn't hate it, but it was a little slow. So that'll be my last one.
Madeline Kahn as Trixie Delight, I think gave a fine performance, but it really shocked me to learn that she was a contender for Best Supporting Actress. I don't know if she deserved that.
I thought she did a good job with the character she was given. I just didn't care for the character to be introduced. I just thought the whole idea of a prostitute taking I just thought it was a little boring. And
it was
okay.
A good moment of humanization though on that hill when she breaks down in front of Addie and confesses, "Listen, like we're all struggling here. I know that this won't last for me. Just give me this, will you? I'll be gone soon." Yeah.
So you definitely, I think there were more highlights in the second act than bad parts.
Yes.
So overall, I liked it. But I think the first and third, I really thought they're all good. I didn't have any down parts to it. I think the reason I maybe didn't like the second act as much is because I felt like it lost steam. And that's what I'm going to describe here in a minute. The reason I'm going to put first act first, third act second, and second act third is because I thought the first act opened up the world of possibilities. I didn't know what the movie was going to be about. I thought Addie and Mose were so charming and really figuring out their dynamic. Okay, Mose is a con artist. He's a really fun con artist. I like all the cons he's coming up. They're really enjoyable to watch. Oh, Addie, she's all for it. She's not going to turn him in. She wants money. She wants to join up on it. Where is this movie going to go? What's their adventure going to be like? I thought like it really opened up the possibilities. So like you were giving the example, Jeffrey, with Game of Thrones, how, if you have a great setup and then a horrible payoff, the movie kind of sucks. So therefore you're praising the payoff, the ending, the climax, the most important at the top. I would agree in a lot of instances, but in this instance, I thought the setup, maybe regardless of how they, if the setup was great, but the middle act and the third act sucked, that's one thing. But for the most part, the second and third act were great. So I just think the setup opened up the world of possibilities for something unique, in my opinion, something magical with their chemistry. So I loved it so much. So when the second act introduced this idea of, he's smitten with someone, Addie doesn't like it, it just drudged and brought up like an obstacle for a main character that didn't necessarily care to see how they'd overcome it. However, in the third act, where the obstacle now is, there's a corrupt sheriff and they have to get out of town, that was really exciting. So that's why I liked that third act more. So again, I'm going to put the first act first because I just felt like it unlike most movies, it opened up a world of possibilities, a magical world. I wanted to see these characters thrive. I wanted to see what they're going to do with it. Are
Yeah.
they going to like hoodwink all of America and become rich? Are they going to become good people by the end? Like, where are they going to go? I don't know, but I want to find out. And then that third act, because I really did, that felt like the most like your typical kind of adrenaline action, fun, corrupt cop. We got to escape. But then we also have the great climax of the movie. All great. And then the second act being the last place, because again, I just thought it was a plot device. I think I've said it enough in the podcast. I don't like when misconception and just when you introduce an idea in a movie, and when I feel personally like it feels like a plot device. Oh, you've introduced this obstacle for our character. They're eventually going to overcome it so they can grow, and then we're going to move on. And therefore, since I know how it's going to go and I don't care emotionally, it just feels like a drudge. It wasn't quite that bad, because that's pretty extreme. Again, the second act had a lot of good components in it, some good character growth, some interest, like you said, Trixie Delight breaking down on the hillside, and just some really good moments. So it wasn't horrible, but I did feel like it was a plot device. I'm like, okay, now we got to get through this whole thing so we can get to the next part. So that's my ranking and why.
No, I mean, that resonates with my experience too. Really, it's a toss-up for me between first and last act.
I would agree,
for those reasons given. Did you like the car chase in Paper Moon better or worse than the car chase in Terminator?
Okay, I'm trying to
'Cause I know you.
the car chase in Terminator. Like, I'm trying, my brain is drawing a blank. Just like, okay, was that the car chase at the beginning of the movie in Terminator where it ends with
I
them
remember
getting arrested?
Yeah, I remember you having like your critiques of it, and that it just wasn't all that engaging as action for you.
Yeah, and here's an example. We watched that last week. I don't even remember it that well. I remember it being anticlimactic and kind of just a very stereotypical car chase. Yeah, this is something I want to talk about. This movie was 1970s, right?
1973.
But it took place during the Depression, so 1930s.
Yes.
Guys, I went to film school, but apparently I just don't know enough about movies because, again, 2 weeks ago when we reviewed Life is Beautiful, and the fact that was made in the 1990s, but like I thought it was like filmed in the 1920s. Another example. They had color. They could have done this movie in color. They chose not to resemble the time period. That blew me away. Like, they did such a good job making this a time period piece. I was blown away by the cinematography, the grain, the look of the camera, the acting, the clothes, the locations, and the color of everything. I thought this movie was filmed kind of in the 1940s time period. So the fact that it was in the 70s, when Star Wars was going on, when we had color, really impressed me. But the reason I bring that up is the overall aesthetic of the movie, the kind of the South during the 1930s, during the Great Depression. I love the whole aesthetic of it. And so that car chase, well, maybe not over the top, maybe not the craziest thing we've ever seen. I love the cars. Like, you don't see such rickety old cars. And so I thought it was a lot of fun, especially like when they were like trying to do a U-turn and they had to like do a 4-point turn because the cars just don't have a good radius. I thought it was really believable.
Exactly. I felt that even added to the tension, right? Because these cars are heavy, they're slow, they don't turn well, right? And so when they take that time to make the U-turn, it feels that the enemy is really gaining on them, right?
Yeah.
But speaking of Deputy Arden again, in that scene in the office, I've thought about this a lot. This movie has a lot of themes of like deception, right? And perception and, reality versus like fiction. This movie lies to us a lot. And one example is throughout the movie, whenever they want to draw attention to important visual elements of the scene, they'll do that slow pan towards it, whether it's the dollar that they're using to scam that poor dumb cashier, right?
Yeah.
Or just the Bibles in the back and the little printing, like the stamp, the gold stamps. But in that scene, it begins with that slow pan towards the Cremo box where we think the money is. Right? And this whole time we're thinking, the money's in the box, right? And it fills us with great anxiety when the deputy picks it up and he opens the box and he empties it and it's not there. That is shocking.
Yeah.
And the slow pan, right? Addie's scratching her ear and we see that $100 bill, right? It's such an effective moment, but it also raises the stakes.
Yeah.
So that's one instance of the movie lying to us. Instance number 2, it lies to us before the movie even begins. The poster of the movie It's in color. And it's the two of them on that paper moon, sitting on that paper moon. You know the movie poster?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the scene arrives, right? They're at the carnival. They have that opportunity, and it's just Addie that gets on there.
Mm.
Yeah. And I feel like that's significant, right?
Yeah.
Again, it's just the allegory, the comparison of like this relationship is a paper moon, right? There's a way that we want it to be, and there's the way that it is, in fact, but then there's the way that perhaps is more true, of like there's that love there, so it doesn't matter, but I don't know, it just adds to that sense of ambiguity, right? Is this good? Is it not?
Yeah. Yeah, and I like when movies can lie to the audience like that and not be frustrating. Because I think movies can lie to audiences and it can be frustrating. A small example of, I thought it was a good movie. I'm sure on a rewatch I would like it more. But I did not like the fact that they lied to us in Fargo. Have you seen Fargo?
Yes.
Yeah, how they're like, they open up like, this is based on a true story. And then it's just not. It's just not based on a true story at all. And I don't know. Just something like that just irked me because like the whole time I'm watching this movie, obviously, even if it's based on a true story, I know they're going to embellish it. I know it's not going to be one for one. That's totally fine. But I'm believing these characters are real. I'm like, whoa, these characters are going to crazy lengths for this money. It's absurd. It's insane. And then we find out, nope. It's just like, what if the director wanted to lie to the audience to warp the perspective, which again can be done and it can be effective. But I think it's also, the director has to be careful because if you lose the trust of the audience. It's one thing to lie to the audience to get a payoff. But if you lie to the audience and you don't get a payoff, you're going to lose the trust. And if you lose the trust of the audience, they're not going to believe in your story. It's just not going to be good.
And the thing here, I think what makes the lies so effective is that they're not really telling us what's true and then contradicting that.
Mm-hmm.
They're setting up expectations in the audience, right? And these are lies of omission, right? Or just simply tweaking things. And I think that there's enough, I don't know, it's just a satisfying sort of surprise. Like, oh, I thought I knew what was happening, but this went in a direction that is more interesting than what I had expected.
Yeah, subverting the expectations. I thought they did a great job. Like, time and time again, we're reminded that Addie is not your typical 9-year-old. She's not dumb. She's not afraid. She is very much in on the end. She knows what's going on, and she's going to take what she wants. We're reminded that time and time again. But yet again, like you're talking about with the police station, it's drilled in our brain that Addie carries around the money in this box. We see it in every single scene. She puts more and more money into it. So when we get to that police station, and he has a bunch of their belongings on the desk, and there it is. There's the box. Okay, we know there's a hidden compartment in it, so maybe he won't look in the box. Okay, he's looking in the box. Maybe he won't look in the hidden compartment. Oh, he looks in the hidden compartment. And we even had a moment before they went to the police station. Like, Moses looked at Addie and looked at the box, like knowing like the money's in there. They can't find it. It gave us everything we needed to know that, oh, Addie's smart. She's cunning. She's brave. Of course she would hide the money. But again, they've done a good job. Like, we just, I don't know if we like underplay Addie, but I think just in our brain, she's a child. Of course, she's gonna be like, oh, it's good enough. It's hidden in this secret compartment. That's good enough. But no, like we should know at this point, Addie's capable. So I love that movie was able to, even though they spelled it out for us multiple times, she is capable. We as the audience just like, oh no, she's a kid. She left it in the secret compartment. But nope, she's right there on top of things. She knew what was going to happen, and she took the first step forward without anyone needing to tell her what to do. And I just love that they were able to pull that off. They were able to play
Absolutely.
with the audience's trust of children. Who doesn't trust a 9-year-old? Who doesn't think a 9-year-old's not smart enough to do that? And so they did a good job not lying to us, but also just like playing up to our trust of children and of certain demographics, age, sex. I think that's a cool thing when we as the audience lie to ourselves, we come up with these preconceived notions. Well, this character will do this because that's what they do in real life. But then the director's like, no, not this character. I thought that was really cool.
I think that we are invited to, at various points, both overestimate and underestimate Addie. Right?
Yes.
Like in moments like that, we're underestimating her, right? We think the money's in the box, but she's actually hid in her hat, right? That's incredible. She shows herself to be very competent at various points. But then there are those moments of vulnerability, right? She's not as stone cold and unaffected as she seems. She is a child, right? She goes to the bathroom and she's putting on her mom's perfume and looking at the picture of them together, right? And she wants to be pretty, right? And she wants a father. At the end of the day, take or leave business partner, she wants Moses to be there for her and to treat her as his own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, it makes a developed character. Okay, she's not just subverting the expectations. Okay, she's not dumb. She's not oblivious. She's not weak. She's the opposite of all that. But as a 9-year-old girl, but she's also not just that. She's not just a mastermind. She's not just brave. She is all of it. She is a human being who that's how she feels real. She feels fear sometimes in the ways that we wouldn't expect someone to feel fear, but she's also brave in the ways that we wouldn't expect someone to be brave as a 9-year-old. So again, it creates that real character rather than just, oh, let's do the traditional character, or oh, let's just subvert the character and do the opposite. It's like, well, let's mesh the two, because that's who we are as humans. We're not just black and white. We are complicated characters. And so when you can capture that, that's when you get those really great performances and those really authentic human moments, like Addie in the bathroom peeling that layer back. Mose leaves and she's like, I want to try on my mom's necklace. Like she lets her, it's one of the few times in the movie I feel like she really lets her guard down and you just get a more rounded character.
And that's another sad thing, is she feels like she can't, even though the pair, the duo, they grow closer over the course of the film and they ultimately decide to stay with one another. Can she fully let her guard down in front of Mose? Not entirely, right? Would she have shown him that vulnerable moment in front of the mirror? No. I mean, at the end, the movie ends with her obfuscating, right? I want my $200. And that's their relationship, of just not saying what they mean. So yeah, that's this movie, Paper Moon. Do you have any other thoughts that you'd like to discuss? Things that struck you, things that, or maybe we could go into our holy moments now.
I think it would be a missed. We talked a lot of good things. We talked a lot about Addie. I feel like we glossed over, because this movie really, like Bonnie and Clyde, like you said, it's a duo. It's a duo pair where I do agree the POV and the movie is really from the perspective of Addie, but Mose. Maybe not quite as interesting as a character, but someone who I still really enjoyed watching. I feel like we got to talk a little bit about Mose and his character.
For sure. He was very fun, very charming, very equal parts street smart and stupid. Because he's allowed himself to be tricked by a child from time to time, right? His whole affair with Trixie Delight, he was making a complete ass of himself, right? When he should know better, but like they complement each other so well.
What do you think he finds in Addie? It doesn't necessarily seem like he wants to be a father. It doesn't feel like he wants. It does even by the end of the movie when he's saying goodbye. Like you could tell he's gonna miss her, but he never quite really feels like he's taking on a parental role, which is I feel like drilled into us throughout the whole movie. She's not necessarily like, this is what they say. I'm not looking for a father. I'm not looking to be your father. And that's what I love. It is that and it isn't that. Again, it's subtext and it's not black and white. But for Addie's character, is a little more. She really is looking for a father. But for Mose, I don't personally ever feel bought into like he's like, this is my daughter now. I will protect her.
Yeah.
Is he using? Do you think he's using her? Is he just like, oh, she's fun. She's fun to be around. Does he care for her? Like what do you think at the end of the movie he feels towards Addie?
I think that there's genuine care and affection for her. And I think that's proven by the fact that he was willing to leave her behind, right? After getting beaten up, he realized this is not the life for this little girl, right? If he had still been insistent on, hey, we'll just like scam a few more people and we'll get right back to it, right? In spite of everything that had happened to him. I think that would have proven that he was just in for a good time and for a quick buck, right? I think that there is some acknowledgement on his part that he may be and probably is the girl's biological father. Is he ready to accept that? No, I don't think he's ready to accept that at the end of the movie. But I think he is slowly taking upon himself more and more responsibilities, or he has that openness to. In fact, before Deputy Hardin and his cadre beat him up, like throw him to the curb, they're thinking about buying a silver mine for like $500, and then they'll have a consistent source of income, and then they'll have a home, right? And as many pianos as Addie Prey wants, and then that dream there is of a life of normalcy, and they're not able to achieve that. But I think this whole movie, we see him wrestling with these opposing instincts.
Yeah.
I'm not a father. I'm not a responsible man. She's a good business partner. And then on the other end, she's a child. She might be mine. And I'm beginning to care about her and her well-being.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The fact that they don't scam people for several months after the Trixie Delight affair, and that he's sort of nudged into it by Addie, that might speak to that instinct of maybe this isn't the sort of life I should be living if I'm having this girl hang out with me, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah,
it's never resolved.
Yeah, which I like. Again, like I said earlier, I feel like this is the beginning stage of these characters' lives. We're just kind of seeing their origin stories, as it were. But yeah. I like that. Like you said, he very well might be the father, the husband, the father to the daughter, but he's not ready to accept that yet. But what he might be ready to accept is that he cares for this girl, and I like where they end. Also, I'm so happy they didn't do this because, again, as you know, I hate when you just. It's like, oh, it's so obvious that they're gonna hide this truth, and then they're gonna reveal the truth, and it's gonna be a big obstacle and emotional thing, and then they're gonna, in the third act, repair the relationship, yada yada. I hate when movies do that. It's just, again, when an obstacle feels like a plot device and I know I'm being drugged through it rather than a real character choice that I believe. And I just would have hated. I was expecting at some point in the movie, Mose was gonna sell out Addie somehow in some way. And honestly, the beginning of the movie, he did. He like threatened to sue a guy on behalf of the girl that he didn't know at all to get $200. So he kind of did sell her out. But I thought there would be a bigger thing. Like, I thought maybe he was going to be taken to the cops and he was going to take the cop aside and I don't know, be like, this daughter's worth a bunch of money, you take her and I'll leave. And then she's devastated, like, oh, I can't trust anyone. I would have hated that. I just find they're so frustrating because at the end of the movie, they're going to repair the relationship anyways. So I like that they never had that moment. Again, they're kind of toxic in some ways to each other. They kind of bounce off each other like rocks, and there's a lot of inner rocks. What am I even saying? Well, all I'm trying to say is they have this energy to them. That's not the healthiest, but it's entertaining, and there is some type of love and care for them. But I do like by the end there is no resolution. There is no I'm your father, I'm your daughter. It's more like we're pals and we're gonna pal around and continue. And maybe it's not healthy, but maybe it's also not healthy. So I appreciate where their characters ended. And I liked Mose. I thought he was super fun to watch. I also thought he definitely was like a grifter, but he didn't seem super scummy. I appreciate that he never come across as like a complete tool. He wasn't like Mr. Pink and Reservoir Dogs to me. He wasn't like a weasel type character. I found him very attractive. I liked his mustache. I thought Jeffrey in the scene where he was fighting like the incest brute guy to get the car, when he was like jousting and like doing his wrestling moves, he looked just like you. For audiences at home who don't know this, I don't know how you would, but when Jeffrey like pretends fights, he gets really gangly like a monkey, and he wiggles a lot, and it's really funny to see. we should reenact that scene. I should play the incest big brute, and you should play Mose.
Oh, I love that. You just have that dangling arm.
Yeah. And you just get to kick me in the face. That'll be great.
Yeah. And it's just like, look, there's a rake. And the thing actually looks, it's just so stupid.
The funny thing is, it was so stupid, but I 100% believed it. I 100% was like, oh, these guys are so dumb. Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed that. But that was one of, before we go into the holy moment, I wanted to talk about Mose, but now that we talked about Mose, I wanted to just bring up, we should make it a whole new section in the podcast. I mean, some movies don't have that great of quotes, but this movie had some good quotes. I specifically liked when Addie and Mose got into an argument about Trixie, And, Addie's being like, let's
Yeah.
leave her behind. She's the worst. She's using you. And he's like, what do you want from me? She's a real woman. She has a high school diploma, for gosh darn it. A real woman. I thought that was hilarious.
Oh, I also love at the carnival when he's like, well, you think I'd leave a kid out here all by herself, just abandon her? I've got scruples, and then she's like, well, I don't know what you have, but if you have scruples, then surely you got them from someone else. Like, they're not yours.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a great line.
Yeah.
And then it's crazy to call P Winky Tinky. I gotta go Winky Tinky. That was super upsetting.
Constantly talking about bone structure.
Yeah. The amount of times she said bone structure in a sentence was insane. And then the last quote I loved was when he was talking about relish. Oh, where was it? I wrote it down. Just a sec. Blah blah blah. Crazy. Oh yeah, he's like, do you want some more relish? I ain't your paw, but do you want some more relish? Just like exclaiming in this cafeteria, like, I ain't your father. Do you want some more relish for your hot dog, though? I just thought that was
Can't
really
eat a hot
funny.
dog without relish.
Yeah, you can't eat a hot dog without relish. I did not have sex with that woman. Just kind of moment.
Eat your knee high in Coney Island.
Yeah. I loved also that scene very early on in the movie, but that scene was one of the scenes that clinched it for me to be like, oh, this is going to be a fun movie. Like, they held their own, both like this 9-year-old and this like 20-something, 30-something-year-old man. They held their own in the scene. And then Addie, very clearly sad about the mother's death, just holding on to the idea of like, I want my $200. The world took everything from me. All I had was my mom. I'm not going to let you take this $200 from me. And I loved her guts and her grit. And then
also, just like tiny character details that like I noticed this this past viewing, but he puts so much sugar in his coffee. Like, he puts so much. Next time you watch this, pay attention. It's like nearly half the container.
Oh, good. The details that we needed to know in this movie. But I think that's everything I had thoughts on for the most part. I mean, I guess the only other thing, I will be surprised if it's not kind of both of our holy moments, considering that's all we really talked about this movie was the characters of Addie and Moses and the writing between them. That's something I love about films. It's just like some things shine in films. Sometimes it's the cinematography. Sometimes it's like the adaptation. Sometimes it's the acting. Sometimes it's the animation. Sometimes it's nothing. But I love when a movie, when we get enraptured in something so specific, because the movie as a whole, I think they did a phenomenal job with. But it just wouldn't have been the same if it wasn't for the writing of these two characters and then the performance of these two characters. Yeah. But that being said, I was just going to, what you said way at the end of the movie, I was just going to agree with you that the cinematography, really, really good. Again, if people don't talk about it, then I think it's super underrated. I thought, I don't watch a lot of older movies, so, maybe just a lot of older movies have banging cinematography, but I really love the use of black and white. I love the use of, they did some really great job with just simple blocking. Something I hate about new age cinematography is, like you said earlier, Jeffrey, the camera moved with the characters, but it didn't just follow characters. It was deliberate. There was blocking. I hate when it's like, okay, we have a camera, actor, move around and we'll just follow you. We'll figure it out. But there was intentional blocking. Like the camera might have moved, but they knew, okay, when I get to here with the camera, you need to land here. There are a lot of shots that just started off with like someone's face really close in the foreground and then someone in the background. And it creates that really claustrophobic feeling when your face is really close to the camera and then someone's really, really far in the background looking tiny. So just again, the cinematography and the choice of doing black and white and how grainy it was, I think spoke volumes for the story.
Absolutely. Just the blocking and the camera movement really put the emphasis on the performances and the characters. And this is the kind of movie that needs that kind of cinematography, right? I love how it didn't have many quick cuts in the back and forth, shot, counter shot. It had that. It had its fair share of that. But, I don't know, the camera didn't just capture the moment, it spoke.
It was intentional. And I think if you guys have listened to us, the Holy Moment podcast, a big thing we harp upon is like intentionality. I'm not going to love every movie out there, even if it's a good movie, but I will always respect a director when there's so much intentionality that goes into something. Just because not every single shot, not every single performance, not every single like piece of production design needs to be over the top and amazing, but it needs to be intentional.
Mm-hmm.
It needs to be thought through. Sometimes the simple shot of medium shot, reverse medium shot is the correct decision, but you have to think and decide why that emotionally impacts and why that needs to be the case. And I really feel like this movie overall in general, but then again, we're just talking about the cinematography, specifically the cinematography. It never felt jarring. It never felt like we cut to a shot that was jarring. Even if the camera was moving a lot, I always felt in the world. I never felt brought out of the world because of the camera.
It's fluid. The editing and the camera work is fluid, and they flow perfectly into one another. Right.
100%.
Yeah. Now, just a brief tangent. Are you the kind of person? Do you like rewatching movies? I think you've answered this before.
No, I don't. I'm not opposed to rewatching movies. I didn't watch a lot of movies growing up, first off. It wasn't really till film school I started watching movies. And then I think I just got it in my head. I have this weird... Phobia is too strong of a word. But I have this weird feeling if either A, I'm rewatching a movie, or B, not watching a worthwhile movie that I'm wasting my time. Like, I have a hard time sometimes just watching a dumb movie or just taking a risk on a movie. I'm like, no, like, this needs to be the next movie that, like, inspires me. And that's dumb. Like, obviously... It's good to watch movies that inspire you, but sometimes it's fine to watch something dumb. It's fine to say that movie wasn't good and I didn't like it and it's not a waste of time. So I think sometimes I can get it in my head that like, well, Nathaniel, you can't rewatch Kung Fu Panda just because it's a good movie. You need to go watch a movie you haven't seen before so, you can keep stretching and growing as a filmmaker. But honestly, rewatching movies I think is sometimes the best way to learn as a filmmaker because it is impossible, especially with good movies, to get everything out of a first watch. A good movie, you should not be able to get all of the meaning, all of the impact, all of your inspiration on your film techniques. You're not going to get it through one watch. That's how art is, in my opinion. Like with music or a painting or with poetry, with everything. If it is good, I'm not saying that like, oh, if it's deep, it's going to take years of understanding. But I do think if it's good, there's going to be a lot you can learn from multiple rewatches. And so I do think rewatches are valuable. I just do not always allow myself to do it, and I think I need to work on it. I do think it's something I need to do a better job about.
Yeah, I absolutely love rewatching movies, and it's not so much a matter of like I've seen Tangled before, and I'm comfortable with Tangled, so I'm just going to throw this on and watch it casually. No, when I say I like rewatching movies, I mean I'm going to be intentional about it. I'm going to look for things that I haven't noticed or looked at before, and it's almost studying, like it's almost research, right? I just feel like it promotes a greater depth of understanding, and I'm all about like depth of knowledge versus like breadth. But of course, like you can't do that with every film, right? It's not worth rewatching a fine film, right? If I mean, maybe there is, right? If it's like entertaining enough and you're with friends. But if I watch a movie and I recognize, like this is cinema, then sometimes I'll even watch it that second time a few days after, right? But this is one of those movies that I have like watched over and over again.
Yeah.
So.
I could definitely see not only getting more out of it, but also another being scared about rewatches is being bored. Oh, I saw this already. I definitely could see how this movie would be enjoyable every single rewatch. But we should try something like that with the Holy Moment Podcast at gmail.com. As we get more seasons under our belt. Again, if you're new here, we pick 6 categories. We each pick a movie per category. That's 12 episodes. That's 12 weeks, which I think is 3 months of content, and then we do a new season with new categories and new movies. Well, maybe we should do something where like at the end of every season, the audience can vote on a previous season and be like, hey guys, I loved your take on this movie, but I don't think you really got to the deep, like there's more to it. Like, so, hey, if we reviewed a movie that you didn't like our take on it, or you think we missed a massive chunk of it, like I said, again, something I love about the Holy Moment Podcast is we get to talk about what we care about. At the end of the day, we cared the most about Addie and Mo's interactions, their characters. But maybe someone out there, maybe you watched Paper Moon and you're like, oh, I don't give a rip about that. I loved the cinematography. I loved the mise-en-scènes. I loved that they captured the Great Depression and the political blah, 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 blah. Maybe that's what you love about it. So maybe if we watched a movie and you want us to review it under a new light, under a new lens, email us at theholymomentpodcast@gmail.com. And maybe once we get enough followers one day, we can like make it we can do a vote on Instagram to be like, hey guys, out of all the movies that you want us to rewatch, we'll rewatch it and we'll really pay attention and we'll come at it from a new lens. I think that could be a lot of fun. But if anyone's
That
out there
would be.
listening, let us know.
Yeah. Well, I know that we can rely on at least one listener,
Oh,
Mr.
say.
Scout. Yeah. A good friend of mine, one of my old coworkers at the Boys and Girls Club, has been a constant listener, right? And we really appreciate him. He's been telling about the podcast to his friends, and we just wanted to give him another shout out because we may have shouted him out before, honestly. But I just had a really positive interaction with him. So, hey, like we just want to let you know that we appreciate you, and that you should email us. Just give us your thoughts, give us your suggestions. Yeah, no, you're a big part of what keeps our engines going, right? Just the knowledge that people are out there and they are digging what we're putting out.
I 100% agree with everything Jeffrey just said, and not to undercut it with humor, but we did shout out Scout one time, and I do believe you threatened to explode his hometown with a nuclear bomb if he didn't send us an email, and I think that was like 10 episodes ago. So just so you know, we did shout out Scout, never got an email, no nuke went off. Jeffrey is a liar.
No, I'm not a liar. It's just I'm giving him more time, right? This is my second warning. The threat is still active, right? But anyhow.
Jeffrey is really hoping things with Iran escalate, so if a nuke goes off, he can be like, that was me. I did that to threaten Scout.
Absolutely. No, I mean, I think the smart move would be to blame it on Iran, right?
Well, if you did it, then you couldn't be a man of your word. You said you would do a nuke if he didn't send us an email. So if you blamed it on Iran, then like you're not even a man of your word.
That's true. I mean, I wouldn't be if I were to lie about it either.
What did we learn today from this movie, Jeffrey? You don't need to be a man of your word to get what you want.
As long as we believe in each other.
Yeah, that's the story
That's
I
what
got
matters.
with this. But no, in all honesty, yes. Jeffrey sent me the screenshot of Scout's messages on Instagram. Very wholesome, very uplifting. Jeffrey and I love doing this. We love watching movies. We like getting better at talking about movies, but ultimately we want to make a community of movie watchers. This day and age with how much content there is out there, there's so much to consume. I can get addicted to scrolling on Reels, scrolling on Instagram. But at the end of the day, it's and there's nothing wrong with it. I'm not like shaming it. It's fun to some degree, you need balance, but we need community within that. It becomes so lonely to look at social media through the lens of what are other people doing in their lives. Oh, this person's in Paris. Oh, this person's making this cool content. We're not just trying to make good content or cool content to make it. We want to make it to create a community. If you care about movies, you're interested about movies, send us an email, send us a DM on Instagram. Let's talk about it. Suggest movies. We want to watch all types of movies. Good movies, bad movies, funny movies, movies with boobs, movies with, other things than just boobs. Surely there are other movies like that. But we want to consume all the media. So help us be a community together. Help us watch movies with you and discuss the moments that work, the moments that don't, and the moments that reflect truth in unexpected ways. Because
Absolutely. I think I forgot to do our little
oh yeah,
slogan.
oh well.
So thanks for that.
Yeah, there we got it in there.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move on to our holy moments. Yeah, I also have that suspicion that our holy moments are the same. Just the chemistry of father-daughter Ryan O'Neal and Tatum O'Neal. Just the characters, Addie and Mose. They felt so real and played off of each other so well. And I don't know, the relationship made this movie work, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what I'll pass it on to you.
Yeah.
You can elaborate more.
And I will, because that's more or less my holy moment. But there was a specific scene, and it wasn't a moment between Moses and Addie. It was actually a solo moment, but it was still a moment that I think was the most human and highlighted the fact that these are three-dimensional characters that do not just say what they want. They feel it, and they do not know how to convey it, and it makes them feel human. And the most quote-unquote human moment in this movie, we should start calling it the most Vega moment, because for those of you who don't know, we used to have an old co-host, and he loved talking about the most human moment in movies. But the most Vega moment in this whole movie to me was when Moses left, and Addie was in the bathroom alone, and she takes her little box. And you know what the great thing is? this Addie's a character who's like money hungry. We already talked about it in the podcast, but she weirdly wants money, and she puts all the money in this box. But you know what's also in the box underneath the hidden trapdoor? It's all of her stuff of her mother. So yeah, she's putting money in there, and maybe this is like a reach, too symbolic of a reach. But she's putting like money on the surface, and underneath the secret compartment is her mother's belongings. Almost this idea of like the money is the thing that she uses to get the attention of Mose, but all she's looking for at the end of the day is a deep connection like she had with her mother, which is buried deeper in the box. So anyway, she's in this bathroom. She opens up her box, opens up the secret compartment, and she looks at a picture of her mom. She makes a pose. She puts on the necklace of her mother, and she takes out the perfume and puts it on her. And it just felt the most authentic, like this little girl that, again, is very smart, very more aware of her age than any 9-year-old is, very brave. But at the end of the day, we can see she desperately wants to make a connection with someone. She wants to be seen as an adult. She wants to be taken seriously. And I thought it was so humanizing and probably, in my opinion, one of the most saddest moments in the whole story. Because also there was this going way back to the first episode we ever did, Grave of the Fireflies, this death of innocence. There was this idea of like, not only does she idolize her mother and she's very lonely, but she's almost like giving up her innocence as a 9-year-old, trying to be the woman her mother was. She wants to be seen as a beautiful woman. She doesn't want to be seen as a little boy or a little 9-year-old. She wants to be seen as not just a girl, but a pretty woman. And it's almost like shedding off her childhood and picking up the mantle of I'm an adult now, even though she was only 9. And I just really love that character moment.
I do too. And I think the cool thing about it is I don't think that tiny spark of innocence ever completely leaves her. Yeah. Right? And I think that is another thing that that box represents. There again, on the surface, she has shed her childish ways and is now going the way of an adult, a scam artist. Right? She's out for herself. Right? But inside, she still longs for that connection. She longs for that parental figure. She longs for something genuine. And I think even just her connection to FDR, right? And her trust, wholehearted trust in what the current president has to say about the ongoing crisis, right? He had his famous fireside chats that he would have with the nation and would broadcast via radio. And he became a father figure for the country. And I think he also acted as a father figure for her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really like that point. Like, she had to put on an image of shedding her innocence, but she never truly did. And I think that's very true. By the end of the movie, she never really truly shed that innocence. And even though, questionable, where is her life going to go with this scam artist? It is true, though, that she is still a child seeking loved ones in her life and living that childlike life. And I think that was really great and a great moment.
With the ambiguity at the end, there is still that glimmer of hope. And that hope is there because we see that spark of innocence, right? That spark of childhood that she's kept.
Yeah, for sure. But that's my holy moment.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go ahead and give this movie, I'm feeling 5 stars, maybe just to sober it up a bit, 4.5, right? I'm very reluctant to give movies very high scores, even if I've enjoyed them a lot. And I think that's sort of, is insurance the right word? Padding.
Yeah.
In case people criticize my opinions. But no, I mean, I love this movie.
Man, you're making me feel convicted. I was going to give this movie a 4.5, but would I give it a 5? I think there's a world in which I would give it a 5. You know what I really love? Something I love about movies. It's like eating. I know the type of food I love. I'm always going to love sushi. I'm always going to love ramen. I'm always going to love tacos. I'm always going to love a good hamburger, yada, yada. But every once in a while, you go out on a limb. You try something new. Whoa, this Indian dish I'd never had before. This Vietnamese dish. And it blows you away. And now it's one of your favorite foods in the world. I do have a certain type of movie that will be easier to rank higher. But I love when I'm introduced into a new genre. Not even just a genre, but a new type of movie that I have not seen before, and it ranks high, and that makes me excited. For me, when I first watched A Ghost Story, when I first watched About Time and Your Name. I feel like those broke the mold of normal movies that I loved, but they're some of my favorite movies of all time. I think this, I don't know if it's my favorite movie of all time, but I do like that it breaks the mold of my normal kind of movie that I rank really high. So I think I'll give it a 5 as well, Jeffrey. I think I will.
All right, 2 5s. That's fantastic.
You said that you sounded so vindicated. So like that's what we deserve here.
Yes, I do feel vindicated. I was so worried, Nathaniel, that you wouldn't like this movie.
Yeah,
that you'd have like so many issues with it.
Good. That's a fun thing. Like the more we do episodes together, the more it's interesting to be like, will Jeffrey like this? Will Nathaniel like it? And I will say, I feel like I'm a hard. We'll have to start as the audience gets to know us better. We'll also have to start making like polls on Instagram to be like, does Jeffrey like this movie? Does Nathaniel like this movie? What are their ratings going to be? Because I never know. But no, I also, again, not in the best recording situations, which we actually need to talk about in just a minute for future episodes for our audience, but still at a friend's house. I was able to watch it on a laptop this time, not a TV, but like in an 80-degree room, sweating my balls off. But so even under all those circumstances, I still, really enjoyed this movie.
Yeah. Well, that's wonderful. Well, I guess you can go ahead and give your announcement.
Yeah. I don't think I've actually said it live on the stream yet. I know I've been talking about I'm out of town. I'm at a friend's house. I'm doing stuff. So I've been out of I'm back in my home state of Iowa, doing a job for the past like 3 weeks. But for the next 2 weeks, next week, it's the week before I'm getting married. So in 2 weeks, I'm getting married. And this up and coming week, we're getting married on my family farm. And so there's a lot of stuff we have to be done in the meantime. So unfortunately, we are actually going to go on a 2-week hiatus, which is our first hiatus since we went on our first real hiatus back in Christmas where we lost a host. So hopefully when we come back in 2 weeks, one of us isn't gone and it's just one person talking to themselves. No. Jeffrey and I are fully committed. We're coming back. We're still going to be releasing reels while I'm gone. But unfortunately, just with the wedding week is going to be crazy. And the week before, there's just so much to be done. I don't think it's fair to myself or my fiance or my family to try and watch a movie alone and then to go away and review it while they're all working hard trying to prep for my wedding. So we're going to spin the wheel, but whatever movie is chosen, we're not going to review it for 2 weeks. But we'll be back in 2 weeks. And once we're back, there shouldn't be no reason why we should take any hiatuses for many months. Sweet.
All right. Fantastic. I'm excited.
Yeah, let's see. I know I've been avoiding saying come and see because that's a really depressing one, but I made it. I just didn't want to watch it while I was here in Iowa on a laptop. So if it's the next movie that I have to watch back in my apartment once I'm married on my honeymoon, so be it. But I'm going to go ahead and spin. And yeah, I'm really okay with whatever movie I get. So here we go. And it is away. And it is... Yes. Okay, this was probably my most anticipated movie. Again, I love... This is my fiance just have such different picks. I love biopics about horrible human beings doing horrible human being things. And my fiance, soon-to-be wife, gets so depressed. We're watching Steve Jobs, which is my biopic movie. The category is biopic. And I picked the movie Steve Jobs about Steve Jobs, the guy that made Apple. So come join us 2 weeks from now. Let me pull up the calendar. So... This episode is releasing Wednesday 9th. That means we're skipping Wednesday the 16th and Wednesday the 23rd. So this episode should be releasing on Wednesday the 30th. So unfortunately, again, 2 weeks of the Holy Moment Podcast at gmail.com or just the Holy Moment Podcast. But go watch our old stuff. We'll be releasing reels, get caught up, and we'll be back in 2 weeks soon with Steve Jobs. That also gives you guys 2 whole weeks to watch the movie. No excuses this time. Whit, I know you listen to us. I know you might be coming to my wedding, but go watch Steve Jobs for this next episode. Same for you, guy on Instagram who I forgot his name already. Colin.
Scout.
Wow. How did I get Colin from Scout? I'm sorry, Scout. I understand if you don't listen to our podcast ever again. I would as well if I were you. So I kid. But anyways, that's all I have to say. Jeffrey, get us out of here.
All right, folks. Again, you can follow us on Facebook, on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. That's where we post our reels. And, of course, you can catch us, for now, audio only, Spotify. But once we get back in full force with our video, you'll catch us at YouTube as well. But until next time, folks, we love you. We want to hear from you. And good night.
Scout, if we don't have another 5-star review on Spotify by next week, there will be retaliation.
There are two nukes that have been launched, Scout. One is heading towards your hometown, and the other is heading towards Hackensack, New Jersey. So, yeah, try to figure that out.
In the words of our old co-host, this is how he always answers a phone and ends a conversation. There's a bomb!